I really think I owe the audience this video, and it's really based on the fact that a few videos ago I sort of called that the market is turning. And given that I've been doing this for 15 years and invested through the last time a seller's market turned into something, I wanted to sort of reflect on what I remember happening last time, sort of talk about what happened during that time frame, talk about who got hurt, who profited, things like that. So started. So first thing I want to sort of just remind everyone, sort of ground everyone on the market cycle. There's a pretty, common graph that I've seen. I actually had it up in my office for a long time, and I'll share a version of it here. You can get it online. You just type in market cycles, and you'll find one or something like this one. I thought I would take time to really talk about what happened last time. Obviously, last time was hopefully unique, at least in my lifetime. The rollover, the real estate depression, the mortgage, meltdown, whatever you want to call it. I hope we never go through that again. But I thought I would take a slide and just sort of talk about what I remember from that time frame. And then I'm going to sort of step back and go, okay, so we're losing a seller's market again. Who got hurt? And sort of relate that to who might get hurt this time. And then talk about sort of who profited, because there were some people that profited quite nicely, and sort of relate those to what might happen this time. So first and foremost, this is just a reminder of market cycles. This doesn't necessarily have to be real estate. It doesn't do any sort of doesn't. There's no timeline here, right? This could be decades long. This could be months long. It doesn't matter. But I think it's pretty clear that a seller's market, like I experienced firsthand, sort of '03 to '08, then it rolled over, and from sort of '08 through 12 at least, and then we've been coming back since 12. And I think it's pretty clear that the market's rolling over again. So again, don't look at this and try to think, hey, it's got to be the same timeline or same amplitude. That's not the case. It really just goes to the fact that market is emotional. And that's why I talk about the news cycle getting negative and how news cycle getting negative affects people and how people are a part of real estate and all of those things. So that's why I watch the emotions, and that's why I watch the news cycle, and that's why I kind of knew, before a lot of the press that something was changing, and hence some of the earlier videos. So anyways, just this is something just to realize, and we're rolling over, and we're probably somewhere certainly past unease. I think we're even past denial now, so it's gonna get interesting, people. So pay attention. So let's first look back at what happened in '08, right? I think something to remember that's not at least not in my opinion going to happen this time is we did have an affordability problem last time, meaning that it was just not affordable, and I think it's not affordable in places like San Francisco and Orange County and stuff like that. But most of America is still affordable. But what happened last time is we had that affordability problem collide with toxic loans that became due or reset, and that's really what caused the last sort of seller's market to just explode, because we had a mountain of forced sellers and things of that nature. I don't see that happening this time, at least not now. Maybe in a few years, but I don't see that happening now. Another thing that happened last time is it became very common for motivated sellers who were trying to sell their properties just to throw their hands up and become what was called a strategic defaulter. Right. So they figured they could live in their houses for 6 months before the banks kicked them out, or they could collect rent while they go through the foreclosure process or whatever. And there are whole websites out there about being a strategic defaulter. So, I just don't see that happening in waves because I don't see the financing being toxic like last time. But again, we're talking about what happened last time. So that was certainly a pretty common practice. Banks took back a lot of inventory, and then when that started to happen in waves, that just sort of fed on itself, and they became the ultimate, motivated seller, and were slashing prices weekly and throwing more inventory on, and it was just terrible. In addition, banks stopped lending, right? And when that happened, buyers disappeared. So you have these waves of supply coming on every week, and then you're strangling buyers who would ordinarily like to buy stuff, and that's a toxic combination. Also, you got to remember 2008 was scary for lots of reasons, right? Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns, and I think there was a money market fund that went bust, and it's just, banks had to double security rates, and Fed cut rates down to 0.5%, right? It was scary. The price declines were sudden, right? 10, 20%. The cuts lasted a long time, years. And frankly, I think a lot of real estate in a lot of areas went to very close to land value. That's how bad it got. Again, I don't see that toxic combination of factors happening this time, but still, it's out there, right? It's something that happened. So who really got hurt? I think buyers who bet on appreciation. And unfortunately, I think there are buyers today that are buying on appreciation. There was a video, a rant from a subscriber earlier talking about how appreciation would cover the cost of negative cash flow, or what I call an alligator property. Yeah, that can work. It might work if you're in and out in the seller's market. Frankly, it probably works great in a seller's market. It doesn't work in most markets, and it's not going to work in the one that's coming up that's likely going to last years. Never bet on appreciation. If you follow me, you're not allowed to talk to me about appreciation. I don't care. All I want to think about is positive cash flow properties. We're never going to talk about alligators. The other thing is borrowers who had expensive short-term financing, right? There was a toxic loan that was called the 2 and 28, right? You basically got approved for a mortgage like at 1.9% that reset after 24 months to like 9% or something silly. And you could qualify at 1% or 1.9 or whatever it was, but you couldn't qualify at 9%, so you had to sell. I think maybe there's some borrowers now who have been borrowing private money or hard money, and they maybe have borrowed lots of it, and they have lots of deals in the pipeline, and eventually they're going to have to pay those back, or they're going to lose the properties and hurt a lot of people. So I think that could happen, right? If you have short-term, money back and you can't sell and you got nothing else left, bad stuff can happen. I think the other thing is that there were a lot of flippers last time. And unfortunately, they were flipping properties that only had one strategic exit, right? If you're flipping a property where you have to sell to an owner occupant, it doesn't cash flow, or it's an oddly configured or whatever, you could be stuck, right? We're going to get into a market where inventory is double where it is now in the next year or so, is my guess. And if you have this unique property that you have to sell, but now you're competing against 3, 4 times as many properties, you're in trouble. And I don't, I, that's going to be a problem. And it's amazing how often things repeat themselves. So, and then the other ones, there's a lot of people. I don't see this going on too much now, but I'm sure it is in some markets. There were people literally buying a property, closing on Monday, and listing it on Tuesday for $30,000 more. And that just doesn't work, right? There are a lot of people buying new homes, and then flipping the paper before the home was built 2 or 3 times. That's not going to work, right? You've got to add value. You've got to change the stock. You can't just buy a property and then sell it later. It's not going to work. So who profited? There were buyers, including myself, who were buying, during the collapse, because of cash flow, right? The asset made sense day one, and it made sense no matter what. Rents kept going up; they were really stable. So if you were buying for cash flow, you were fine. The other thing is buyers that kept buying, right? It was impossible to tell how far and how deep this would go. So if you kept buying all the way down, you were doing okay, because you can never time a top, just like you can never time a bottom. So it's you just never know. So again, buy for cash flow. Don't try to time a market, and you'll be okay. The other thing is people who bought apartments did really well, because what happened is not only did rents go up, but occupancy rates went up. So if you owned apartments, you likely had a greater occupancy and your rental rates were higher. So it was really, owning multiple units was very profitable as the market rolled over. And then as the market got even further along in its downward cycle, people who found ways to get leverage, right? Because banks, as I mentioned earlier, were turned off. So if you found a way to get hard money or private money, or investment partners or whoever, it really didn't matter how expensive the hard money was. If you were buying a property for land value, it eventually had to go back to construction value, right? And who cares if you're paying 9% interest and 2 points or whatever it is if you can buy, a dozen properties at land value. So, um, that was very profitable, and I think that could happen again. So in the end, I just thought I owed you guys this video. Do me a favor, really want to get to 200 subscribers soon. It's been too long. If you could help, tag some friends, ask them to join, that'd be greatly appreciated. If you experienced the last downturn, let me know. Love to hear what you think below. And be careful this time. You can make a lot of money as the markets change, but you can also get hurt. So good luck and have a great day.